My name is Shelby Thomas with the Ocean Rescue Alliance International.
My name is Dr. Shireen Rahimi. I'm the founder of Lightpalace Productions.
Hi, I'm Bianca Mendoza-Rout. I'm a former graduate of the University of Miami, and I'll be starting the Knaus Fellowship in 2024 in Washington, D.C.
So today we were out at Young's Reef to document the really severity of what just happened from the last bleaching event this summer. And we've seen huge thickets of elkhorn and staghorn die through warming temperatures. And unfortunately, the reef we dove today had complete mortality. So we had a lot of algae already encrusting over those structures, and the reef structure itself is still there. But we really are looking to be able to document this and bring it to the public to help share this message of what's going on with our Florida's coral reefs.
And to try to instill value in an everyday citizen of wanting to care for an environment that isn't in their back door. I mean, think about the people that don't even live near the ocean, that don't have that opportunity. How is someone in Hialeah supposed to have an appreciation and a value for something they've never seen before?
As a production company, we specialize in underwater filmmaking, and so a lot of my job is coming out with scientists, conservationists, practitioners in the ocean space to tell their stories about how they are working with the ocean and using technology and creativity to create solutions for the issues we're having with coral reefs out here in Florida.
The film's going to really help bring full circle of what's happening to our reef systems here in Florida within a year. So we're going from a healthy reef and actually seeing a bleached reef where it turns that pale white, and then to a fully degraded, dying, dead reef. And so that itself, I think, is very powerful to send a message to even people here living in Florida of what's going on in the reef system. And so how we're intending to use that is for awareness and also helping really create that urgency of we need to act now, and also look at potential routes to innovate and scale restoration in areas that aren't impacted by some of these conditions. So photography and videography can be a really great tool for looking at restoration, kind of creating a baseline so you can visually see and actually measure things like photomosaics. We weren't doing photomosaics today because that's really taken at an exact point, but we are able to look at that historical baseline and how these reefs have changed over the years. And so really the content that we were able to get today in terms of documentation will really help bring that kind of precedence and awareness to the public of what's happening to these reef systems.
And so we wanted to get footage of that dead coral to show the impacts of climate change and other human activity on coral reefs here, as a way of showing what's at stake for a company like Ocean Rescue Alliance International and the work that they're trying to do to help recover these reefs. And so showing the dead coral helps us show how bad the impacts are, and helps us show the problem and how we're trying to fix it.
So there's various issues plaguing reef systems all around the globe, and a lot of them are somewhat similar. There's ocean acidification, pollution, degradation, overfishing, as well as warming temperatures and disease. And so in Florida, historically, we've had multiple die-off events of corals. In 2015, we had a disease impact. And just this recently, we had one of the worst warming temperatures, 101 surface degrees back in July, and that decimated corals. And so having these persistent reoccurring events from disease to warming temperatures, it's really reducing that immunity of the coral. And if you think about it, even as people, if we continuously get sick, it makes it hardest for us to recover. And that's really what's happening with our reef systems, is they're just getting hit with back-to-back factors and impacts that's really degrading their health and not allowing them to recover. And so it's really important to look as a whole at different methods of restoration to improve resiliency over time.
Today we saw a ton of dead coral, recently dead coral, so it was still kind of holding its structure, which made it even more tragic, I think. It was a sad dive, for sure.
Aside from my coursework working in Dr. Diego Lehrman's lab, I did a lot of coral restoration work, so that would entail a lot of out planning and going to different sites all up throughout South Florida. We did a lot of lab work, microanalysis work, qPCR stuff, chlorophyll analysis. I mean, all of those things coupled together really influences a coral's health, whether that's in the lab or if it's getting outplanted to a reef. So we were at Young's Reef, and I hadn't been there for about a year since I left my lab at the University of Miami. And it's pretty disheartening going out there and knowing that just our lab alone, aside from other conservation nonprofits that have gone out there to try to restore these reefs and all the effort that's been put, and to see that sort of completely eviscerated over a couple-week period of time in the summer. And you hope that these coral reefs can somehow replenish themselves and they can restore to their former glory, and that's really not the case that we saw. We saw probably anywhere from 90 to 100% mortality. There are only a few species that were really somewhat decent out there. I wouldn't even say thriving, and it's pretty disheartening, as not even as a coral biologist, just as a native to Miami, Florida, to see that. These are things that I grew up enjoying, loving and snorkeling by, and just to see them completely degraded is the worst thing you can imagine. I think with anything, of course, you mention a losing battle, but you have to keep in mind that if the work that we did wasn't completed, then they would just completely die. And I mean, what coral reefs sequester 20% of blue carbon alone. I mean, you're not just talking about the tourism for the city of Miami, you're talking about these corals are helping us thrive. They're helping mitigate against hurricane damage. If we didn't go out there and try to restore them in some way, what chance would they have? Because I really think it's anthropogenic causes that are really making them degrade to such a level.
We would also hope to take content like this of really showing our current state of these Florida reefs and bringing it back to policy and decision makers to really see that impact, but be able to implement policies that can help change and impact the way we do restoration.
That's kind of what I'm hoping to do in DC. Is unfortunately, it's like the mindset of policy is sort of forcing an individual and a society to care and to make sure that they don't pollute. There is fines for littering. There should be fines if you take out your boat for an extended period of time, or if you throw away your fishing line outside. There has to be certain measures in place to mitigate all of this damage.
I think one of the factors that makes it really hard with making regulatory shifts is there's so many agencies that are involved into making decisions, especially when it comes to endangered species and restoration, in particular in the ocean, because there's so many factors that come into play. You know, you're having to work with environmental agencies like DERM and FWC, but then there's also other levels and working with the Army Corps, and being able to have over 5 permits to be able to do some of the work that we're doing. And so it makes it a little more difficult to sometimes have a unanimous decision in where we're needing to make rapid decisions, right? And so that makes it a little difficult, where we're really needing to get everyone together on the same page and being able to implement decisions more quickly, and also expand the way that we do restoration as a whole and making it more accessible to people wanting to get involved. There's very limited agencies and practitioners doing restoration itself, and so we need to find a way to industrialize this. There's a huge precedent. We're losing so much coral. We need to find a way to advance this more quickly and allow people who want to help to have that ability to more readily. And so from a regulatory perspective, that's something that we're hoping to shift, and use videos like this today to really provide that as a baseline to the community and regulatory agencies.